Hi guys, welcome back. This is Matt Chat episode number 36, covering the greatest real-time strategy game ever made, Blizzard's Starcraft. Blizzard's Starcraft is a game that was released in 1998. All right. 11 years later, you can still find this game on the shelf. It is still being sold and selling like hotcakes. I got the battle chest about a week ago from Amazon for about $20. They're brand new. You can still go on the battle.net servers and find thousands of people to play with. It's practically an organized sport in South Korea. I mean, this is a game whose appeal just seems to be timeless. And as we'll see, the reason for that is it's so carefully balanced. The gameplay is just so well thought out and so well designed. Even if the graphics and so on, of course those are a little dated today, but it still holds up very well just in terms of raw gameplay and raw fun. If you're looking for a good time with a real-time strategy game and some friends, Starcraft is, of course, the way to go. Now, Starcraft wasn't the first real-time strategy game, of course. We could talk about Westwood Studios' Dune 2, an amazingly ahead of its time real-time game. They debuted in 1992. And of course, Westwood would go on to create the epic Command and Conquer series that so many of us love today. We could talk about other series, of course, Age of Empires. We could talk about things like Total Annihilation, Supreme Commander, the Total War series. There's just so many great real-time strategy games out there. And what Blizzard did with their Starcraft game, and of course, I should also mention their Warcraft series, which began in 1994, and influenced a lot of the things that they did in that series. Ended up in altered form in Starcraft. But what Blizzard has always done is look at a genre, find the best games in that genre, figure out what it is about those games that people love, that makes them so addictive and compelling, and take out those elements, and then look at what makes those games, what drags them down, what parts do people really not like, what parts are impeding that genre from exploding onto the mainstream, and they take out all of those elements. And usually, what happens then is that the hardcore fans of the older games will say they've dumbed it down, whereas the many legions of new fans who rush into this genre in the wake of a Blizzard game think that the old stuff was tedious and inaccessible, and the new game is the most impressive and incredible thing they've ever seen. So Blizzard's a master at this sort of hybridizing that they've done so well with so many games. Starcraft has got a great single-player campaign, as we'll see, a wonderful storyline, and there's also the defining aspect of this game is the multiplayer gameplay that's so carefully balanced and so much fun. So we've got a lot to talk about here, so without further ado, let's play Starcraft.
Adjutant online. Good evening, Magistrate. I'll fill you in on what's been happening. Confederate traffic has increased substantially.
Now, although most people today who play StarCraft are probably more interested in the multiplayer campaigns, the single-player game has this wonderful, sophisticated narrative full of very interesting characters. There's a lot of drama here, a lot of infighting and intrigue. The story will also allow you at different parts to play as the three races of the game. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it here, but I wanted you to know that it's there, and it's a major reason to play the single-player campaign. To skip ahead a bit here, I've already done the first tutorial, which basically just introduces you to the interface, how to move your units about and so forth. And getting a little bit further in, now each of the races has 10 missions, for a total of 30 missions in the single-player campaign. And they all concern the conflict between the three races. And those races are, of course, the humans, or the Terrans. You have the Zerg, an insect-like race. It's very cool, kind of creepy. And then the Protoss, or Protoss. These are who have basically psychic, telekinetic, psionic abilities, if you will. And all three of these races are, as I said before, very carefully balanced, but they're also very different, very distinctive. So you get a very different experience when you play one. The basic goal of most of the levels is to quickly get some of these gatherer-type units working on these crystals that are sprinkled around. And then there are also these gas geysers. And you need so many crystals and so many units of fuel or gas to produce your buildings and combat units. So that's nothing unusual for a real-time strategy game, but it's nicely done here. It doesn't get too complex, but it's not so simple that you get bored with it. Now, you've heard me talk a lot about the multiplayer game, so here it is. I was able to find a guy named KC15, who I want to point out is a very helpful guy. He kicked my ass, but he did it in a very friendly way, giving me some pointers. Of course, as with any multiplayer online game, it's exponentially harder when you're playing against a human being than it is with a computer. I mean, assuming that the human opponent has any experience. Casey definitely did. And as you can see here, my ignorance is going to cost me pretty heavily. There's Casey. He's already here. Attacking some of my structures. With these multiplayer games, even a few seconds can make a critical difference. And that turns some people off. They don't like the competitive nature of this. I know it sucks to lose. It's definitely not a pleasant experience, but nevertheless, I think if you're patient with this, you can become a decent player. It's not that difficult. Now, some of you who have read my blogs and such know I'm usually not a big fan of online games. The reason being that it just seems like the jerk to nice guy ratio is pretty steep. And I haven't spent enough time with this to really be able to make claims about the community. But as you can see, it wasn't very hard for me to find a very nice guy to play with. So I would think that you'd have a pretty good chance of finding very helpful players. They want people to play with, so they're not all going to just bite your head off just because you don't know how to play. That said, you probably need a pretty thick skin to play any online game like this. Just because I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of jerks out there, and it can be pretty tough on your ego. Alright guys, that's all for this week's Matt Chat. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun making this episode. I wanted to thank a few people who have really stood out in my mind as being very supportive of the show, going above and beyond to support it and let their friends know about it and get me some new viewers. Lefarius, Ian Wilson, 1978, The A-Games, Back Forward Punch, Interghost, Dinky Dana, Me85, and of course my good friend from the Netherlands, Mark Vigier. I really appreciate you guys, and I hope that I'll be able to return the favor. I've also got, a lot of other people have made great comments and have subscribed to my channel, and I have posted your names in the scrolling bar below. Anything that's good about this show, you guys have made it happen. Thank you. All right, then. I'll see you guys next week. But remember, if you call down the thunder, you'll reap the whirlwind.